Was that just like the end of the song? I don't know if I'm losing my mind here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Five Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're your hosts today, TJ and Raj.
Hey.
We got a Tuesday Trends, jam-packed Tuesday Trends for you guys today here on Monday, the 21st. If you guys are new to the show, what we do on Tuesday Trends is we're taking hot, cold streaks across the NHL. We're going to vet them for sustainability, a big buzz in fantasy hockey circles. If somebody's doing well, we want to know if that's going to continue. If somebody's doing like shit, we want to know if that's going to end anytime soon. And we got guys for both of those categories. But if you guys want to find us in the meantime, between episodes, anything like that, we're on Twitter, on X at FHF Hockey. We're in the Fantasy Hockey Discord. We're quickly approaching 2,700. I think we hit like 2,600 last week, and it just keeps on growing. So if you want to get in there before your league mates do, the link is in the description. What else did I miss? Anything? We're live on YouTube for anybody that wants to join us. We got some comments rolling in already. Nate's in the chat. Para's in the chat. Welcome to a Tuesday Trends, guys. Let's get into some storylines and injury news around the league before we get into the trends. Brandon Hagel back on power play 1 in Tampa. Tampa did not look great tonight. I don't know how much of that game you call it, Raj, but I don't know if it's over yet even, but it was like 5-1 last I checked. Did Vasilevsky get pulled? He's going to play again tomorrow, I guess. But, man, things did not look good for Vazzy.
Yeah, no, it was 5-2.
5-2? All right, they got one. Good on them.
Got one
good
back.
on them. Yeah. And, yeah, that game's over. So, who got on the second one? I have Braden Point. All right, all the big guys. I don't have any, I have a peripheral Tampa Bay guy, but Dobson. All right, so I guess I got to kind of set the stage with this one. The New York Islanders, before we get into trends, I want to talk about lineup trends. We talked about Brandon Hagel being back on power play 1. That didn't work tonight, so I wonder if they go back, Taylor Radish on power play 1. We'll see. New York Islanders are going berserk with their line combinations. Dobson's on power play 2 as of the practice power play units and things like that. Mike Riley running power play 1, Horvat, Palmieri, JGP, Siplikov, all on power play 1 there too. With that's power play 2. Dobson, Palmieri, Horvat, Pajot, and Siplikov. And then you got Riley, Barzal, Holmstrom, who's also taken Duclair's spot on power play 1 or on line 1 with Brock Nelson and Anders Lee. New York Islanders aside, because they're not like an offensive powerhouse or anything. But what is your real take on what's going on here? Like Dobson value, Horvat value, all these kinds of things.
Well, I mean, Dobson just has all the value. He might be on the Islanders, but he's also the leading scorer on the Islanders, so he's fine. He doesn't need people. He doesn't care what team he's on. So I'm not worried about Dobson because he did it last year. He's going to do it again. I don't know. I mean, Barzal and Horvat, Nelson, Palmieri, Duclair, all with 3 points in 5 games. Slapakov with 3 points. That sounds like an Islanders team to me. Like a bunch of 60-point guys at best. Probably more like mid-50s. So I can't say I'm surprised. I hoped Barzal and Horvat, especially with just Dobson just turning into like a stud. I thought that Barzal and Horvat might step it up a notch, but they're stuck. They're stuck at a solid 60-point pace to lead that team, and I don't think it's going to change. I don't think it's going to change. That's what they do, and I agree with that. That is a pretty sweet shirt, dude.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm going for my my best Hunter S. Thompson today. My wife went to the thrift store. We're going to Punta Cana next week, so I'm going to bring the mic and bring the webcam and all this stuff. I'm not going to tell my wife that I'm doing it. I'm just going to kind of surprise her on a Saturday night and be like, "Hey, by the way, kids are sleeping in our room tonight, and I need their room for like an hour or two so I can bitch about hockey." But it'll be cool. Maybe I'll get like a balcony and be able to record from the pool or something. I don't know, but yeah, on New York, man. Like, I don't know. When we're this early into the season, I always feel like people and coaches especially are just trying stuff. They're throwing things at the wall, want to see what works and see what might not work. So I have a lot of faith that this is not going to work. So it'll be back to normal. Will probably be the case. In New Jersey, Timo Meyer moved off the Hughes line, off power play one. Nason, Hischer, Bratt, Hams, and Hughes are your power play one. Meyer, Holla, Tatar, Nemec, and Mercer power play two. You wouldn't know it by looking at Timo Meyer's box scores because he's got 7 points in 8 games, but I guess they're deciding that he needs to, I don't know, learn a lesson or something. I don't know. Maybe it's definition looking good. I know they had Cotter up there for a minute. So, man, what do you think? I mean, Meyer seems to be doing fine, but obviously less power play time, less exposure to the big guns. Not great.
That's not great, but I mean, just similar to what I was just saying about the Islanders, this seems to happen to Meyer. Like whenever he's doing well, then he sometimes just goes down to the second line, stops scoring, disappears for a year. I don't think that's going to happen this year. The Jersey's just too good.
They look good.
I think, like you said, they're just trying stuff, trying to get some other guys going, I guess. But I mean, overall, I don't see any problem with Timo Meyer. Unless you want to trade him to me, I'm more than happy to take Timo Meyer off your hands.
Every year, it's one of those things we say, like, you got to give it 10 games, 15 games before we start to see the actual continuity, especially Patrick Roy, getting used to his first full season as the coach. And I'm sure he wants to like put his stamp on things, and he doesn't want to go exactly right back to the things that might have got Lane Lambert fired. So I don't know. He's trying new things, especially with somebody like Duclair getting hurt. You kind of have to mix things up with Holmstrom, and you want to keep him with Barzal just to build that chemistry. It surprises me a lot that Horvat's not up there. For nothing else, if for face-offs on the top unit. But, man, what are you going to do? Colton Sissons centering the Marchessault-Stamkos line. Tommy Novak wasn't able to do much with it. Nashville's not able to do much with their offense as it is. So I don't know how much interest I have in Colton Sissons right now in terms of like purely on a lineup trend here.
I mean, when Stamkos has 1 goal through 5 games, they're going to try something. So I just, it's just another one of those early season. Nashville changed a lot of major things, right? Like brought in major players. So there's some stuff to figure out. It's not really a big surprise that they're doing this. I don't know. It's just the same thing. You just gotta. I have Stamkos in a couple of leagues, and I'm just sitting here
waiting,
telling myself that this is going to change because it has to.
I think it will. Yeah, this is a team that doesn't have a real like quintessential second line center. I wouldn't be surprised to see Stamkos start taking some center shifts like before long. Zachary LaRue drew into the Nashville lineup at practice, so they're trying stuff. We'll see what happens there. Nate in the chat here, he's mentioning that Luke Hughes does look close, and I think the words that Sheldon Keefe used was imminent. So it's getting there. We're going to see what happens with Hams. Hams did get the rust off. He got his first couple points in these past couple games. So hopefully he keeps that. I'm a big Dougie Hams fan, so all for it. Let's get into news and notes from around the league. Seamus Casey of the New Jersey Devils got sent down to Utica. Big one here in Pittsburgh, man, just based off of Jari looking like garbage. Alex Nedeljkovic back with the Penguins this weekend. Blomqvist was backing him up, and Jari was the healthy scratch. This is like, I think Colorado Avalanche have 3 goalies with Kakinen, Georgiev, and Annunen, whatever. And then the Minnesota Wild, too. They have Wallstead, they have Fleury, they have Gustafsson. So these are 2 teams now with 3 goalies that we frustratingly have to deal with. Any Pittsburgh Penguin trio? Not even a tandem. We need to come up with a new word for tandem.
I know. For the first time in my life, I got Jari this year.
Oh God.
and then I got Nedeljkovic. So I had the tandem, and they're both 5+ goals against right now. So I have a fire sale on Pittsburgh goalies if anybody wants any of them. I don't feel like it's. I mean, it's going to probably be better than 5 goals against, but yeah, I don't know. It seems to be a thing. We're doing it in Vancouver too. I mean, we're in Vancouver. It's because Demko's injured, but pretty soon they're going to be another 3 goalie team.
It's been
So
radio silence on Demko. Is there any word whatsoever about what's going on with him?
it's the
Around the water
Popliteus
cooler.
still.
Yes,
Yeah, it's the same thing they've been saying. Well, they've never really said, but it's been the same thing since what, like 7 months ago,
Mm.
which is scary. So I don't know. I'm all in on other guys in Vancouver, but it seems to be there's this myth like a few years ago it was like you have to have a good duo. The steady starter is gone, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. And then the following year it was straight back to studs. Like there was a bunch of goalies playing high volume.
Yeah.
And now this year the rumor is everybody needs 3. So I don't know.
Yeah, that better not be the case. I'm not trying to get like my next note here is about how I think it was Sunday. A lot of the goalie confirmations came out super late. It was an hour before the games last night. 3/4 of the goalies, 3 out of 4 goalies had not been confirmed. Pittsburgh Winnipeg started at 3, and Nedeljkovic got confirmed at 2:36 with 34 minutes to go. If you need a Sunday goalie start, I did need a Sunday goalie start. Unfortunately, I didn't have any pickups, so I just kind of forfeited the 8 points that Blomqvist got me and the 4 points that Binnington got me. Still able to eke out a win, but yeah, I mean, Dostal and Rittich both got confirmed 30 minutes prior to game time, and then Annunen got confirmed again 30 minutes before game time. Brutal.
Yeah, I don't like that the late game lineup announcements. Like I really thought they were going to change that this year because has a legit effect on betting, right? And that's something that I do think is going to change. But coaches and managers have been pushing lineup announcements so late now. It sucks. And to me, that's just all the more reason to go with goalies who are, unless injured, going to take volume. Just because if they're not like a solid number 1 goalie, you're into these like 33% at best situations. And then the thing is, when a team has 3 goalies, you lose a game or 2, and that goalie's he's done. He's not going to play anymore for a while. So
yeah, it's tough. It's kind of like getting a wish from like a evil genie or something. Like, I really don't want to think about goalies this year, so I'm just going to take one in round 14, and then for the next 25 weeks, you're like stuck to your phone trying to get goalie starts 30 minutes before a game, desperate to like just picking up Vanacek because he was the first guy. Like, I don't know. No thanks. I'll stick with like Olmark. Max Pacioretty, he was skating with power play too. He played today. I think he got the first goal of the game for the Leafs. Yeah, he's back. So he was scratched for 2 games. And I already mentioned that Zach LaRue back, drawing into the Nashville lineup. Injuries, Anthony Duclair, it's not looking good. They said it's closer to long-term than it is to short-term, but it is not season-ending. Joseph Woll should be back in action. Big quotation marks around should. He might play Tuesday. So as this podcast drops into your Spotify's and your Apples, check and see if he's playing. Olmark is going to be good to go. Matt Sugard got sent back to Belleville. We already mentioned Luke Hughes is kind of on the horizon. Wills, Eklund, and Smith are back in for San Jose. Celebrini is skating. He is still week to week. Samuel Hanzik is on IR in Calgary. Victor Olofsson downgraded to week. Missed Saturday's game against Florida week to week. Not looking good. I want to get into some notable hot streaks. This is where we kind of like start talking about trends and not really deep diving. I just want to get it out there. just mention these guys. They're the honorable mention crowd. Vladislav Gavrikov and Mikey Anderson in LA, man. Top pairing. And Los Angeles has 17 goals for in their last 4 games. That's 6th in the league. And both these guys are really turning it up. I don't know if there's like long-term value there, but it's happening and it's worth noting. Man, I'm gonna have trouble with this last name. I think it's like Cole Kopke. Any help? Yeah, he's a fourth.
You gonna go to me
Boston
for names?
Yeah. I actually have a note on him later on. Or no. So I started writing for Dauber and I wrote it in there. I'm doing the Eastern Edge columns, so you guys check that out. It's going to drop tomorrow. Give that one a look. That's my first one, so I really need some like constructive feedback or brutal feedback. If it sucks, let me know. But
very excited for that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Cole Kopke, Cole, and Mark Kastelik are first and second in the team for the Bruins on points. I mean, they're tied with Pasternak and I think Zacha. Or maybe it's Lindholm. You know, Kastelik is tied with those two guys. So there's a little bit of like clickbait there, but fourth liners, 1 and 2 in scoring for Boston. For me, this is just lucky bounces, man. Like that's not like, this is, I don't know, a diet Paul Cotter thing going on up there. And I'm really not into it. I don't know. Maybe like if you can get a 1-game lucky bounce, but I don't know. Don't know, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could get your hands on a John Beecher. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but I have a feeling it's going to go back to Lindholm and Pasternak and Marchand.
Yeah, I think so, too. That's a good bet. Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano, Troy Terry. Vetrano's out today. His wife is expecting that baby. And I picked up Scott Lawton for this week, and his wife is expecting a baby. So I'm just throwing that out there. And yeah, like I'm 0 for 2 because these hockey players just keep pumping out kids. Their wives just keep pumping out kids on weeks where I need them. But congratulations to Frankie V and Scotty Lotz. But in Anaheim, man, that third line is rolling. Third line is only averaging like 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes less than your top line. So you don't really have to feel too icky about picking up third liners in Anaheim. Everyone's kind of getting shitty time on ice. There's no good time on ice in Anaheim. But Frankie V having another season, Raj. What do you think, man?
I know that I'm always wrong about Frankie V. Whenever I say he's going to keep it up, he doesn't. Whenever I say he's going to stop, he doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead and say he's going to keep on going.
There it is. It's over, guys. It is done. Anton Lundell. Things are going to change when Barkov comes back. The news is that Barkov is going to be back before or in Finland. And I believe that happens on November 1st. Anton Lundell, I think he's got like 7 points in as many games. I forget the exact stats here for what he's been able to do in the last 4 games while Barkov's out. But it's lights out. And it's hard to ignore, but Barkov's not somebody that you can just put on the second line. So I wonder if, you know, maybe Lundell and Tkachuk can get some chemistry going, or maybe, man, I'd love to see that stick. But you can't put Barkov on the second line, no matter how good.
He's got 7 points in those 4 games.
Okay, so I thought it was like 7 points across the whole season made more sense, but 7 points in 4 games, he's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's good. He's up to like 22 plus minutes, so I get him while he's there.
He deserves it. He does. Jesse Puljujarvi, 5 points in his last 5 games. Michael Bunting is a scratch, and I think Puljujarvi's taking those minutes, and he's really running with it. Pittsburgh's pumping the goal. Like, they're just chugging points right now. Malkin is like 5th in the league, 6th in the league in scoring. He's got 11 points through these 6 games, and it's nuts, man. But Puljujarvi is going to be one of those guys. If you missed out on Malkin, I think he was like 54% last time I talked about him. And Puljujarvi might be the next best guy up. Mikael Granlund looking really good in San Jose. He's on a bit of a streak. Philip Broberg, this is one I brought up last episode. when I was in Phoenix, and 6-game point streak, 5 assists in a row, and he opened the season with a goal. The shots are low, but it's just like he's doing good. Tom Wilson, 5 goals in 5 games.
Compare Broberg's start to Bouchard, right? Because they let Broberg go because they have Bouchard, right? I think it's going to swap. Like by the end of the season, we won't be talking about Broberg anymore, I don't think.
No, man. It's yeah. We'll see. As far as Broberg goes, but like I'm completely behind you on Bouchard, who is on the docket for a deep dive later on. Here's a fun one. Both of these guys are going to be in a bit of a deep dive situation too, but I want to get your pulse on this one. Connor Zary or Marco Rossi. Let's do a this guy or that guy. You're on the waiver wire. Both these guys are playing tonight. Connor Zary, Marco Rossi. It's an off night. Let's say it's an off night. You got plenty of room on your roster. Connor Zary is a center right wing with 15% rostership in Yahoo. Rossi center only. So long term, obviously the edge towards Zary. Both have 5 points in 5 games. Both have 2 goals, 3 assists. Zary has 2 power play points. Rossi has none. Marco Rossi has 12 shots on goal, and Zary has 9. They both have 3 hits. Zary's got 5 blocks, where Rossi has none. Shot attempts are right around the same. Zary with 20, Rossi with 19. Time on ice is like, it's up and down on the season, but Rossi's seeing improved minutes with Hartman in and out. This is where it gets different. So Zary's on power play 1, but he's on line 2 with Backlund and Coleman in Calgary, mind you. Rossi's on power play 2 with Kaprizov and Zook. So it's that classic, do you want the power play exposure? Do you want the even strength exposure? Obviously, even strength exposure is like 75% of your game. And power play exposure might only be, 4 minutes out of a 20-minute game. So what do you think? Who would you pick?
Well, I like Zary better. He's a little more all around in the peripherals. But he's listed as center right wing. He's playing left wing. His line mates are sketchy as shit. I like how many times are we gonna pretend Blake Coleman's gonna turn it around? I don't know. But what the hell is going on in Calgary? I don't know, but it makes me feel like I would take Zary because just for those reasons. I like it. I have no idea why they're doing anything right now, so I would run with it. I don't think you'd be wrong to go with Rossi, but I really like the right wing aspect, and I really like the power play aspect because, especially with fringe players, who have a bit of upside like that, like you might have way more time on ice at 5-on-5, but a fringe player is going to benefit a ton from the power play. So I like the fact that Zary's on the power play.
Yeah, I think
having said,
no, go ahead. Finish.
He could easily get bumped. He could easily get bumped off of it though, too, right? As soon as it stops. So with a guy like Zary on the power play, the second he stops performing on it, he's going to be gone, and it'll be Coleman or somebody up there.
I think this one is close in a lot of formats, like even Dynasty. But in this scenario with like a 1-game stream, I'm with you. I think I lean Zary just for that power play 1 exposure, because it seems like if I'm using like pinball as an example, right? Like when you're on the power play, that's like multi-ball. That's when you get most of your points, right? Like it's when you get most of your, yes, it might only be like 2 or 3 minutes per 20-minute average time on ice, whatever. But like, that's where it just your chances go up exponentially during those few minutes. So just based on that, like I love the Kaprizov deployment with Marco Rossi. And I think if I was in a long-term hold situation, I might lean Rossi for that reason, just because, you're casting a wider net with that even strength exposure. But 1-game stream, I'm there for Zary.
Also, though, like if he keeps clicking with Kaprizov, he might find himself on the power play, right? Like,
yeah, true enough. Yeah, could happen. Let's get into some notable cold streaks, man. Cutter Gauthier. This one came up a little bit earlier in the chat. I'm going to see if here we go. Para is asking, too early to give up on Cutter G. Bro is more cold than the girl I met in high school. The rest I'm going to leave ... If you're on YouTube, you can read it, the rest of it. But 0 points, 9 shots on goal. That's under 2 a game for him. 15:08 time on ice. And 3 hits, 5 blocks, 20 shot attempts. 17:53. No, that's Zari's numbers. 15:08 time on ice and 40% of the power play time. Cutter Gauthier, is it time to cut bait?
I got nothing to cut. I wouldn't have picked him up in the first place, but
it's in his
I
name.
would say so.
I think it is time to cut bait with Cutter.
Yeah.
And that's 50% salty Flyers fan and 50% self-appointed fantasy hockey pundit. So for me, like, he's not produced. Is the shot, like, what really enticed me with him in the preseason was his shot volume, and that seems to have dried up almost entirely. Anaheim has a lot of really good weeks and a lot of really available players. I think I'd be moving off of Cutter, and if I find myself in need for somebody from Anaheim, being okay with the fact that I wind up with maybe a Vetrano, maybe Troy Terry, who is on a hot streak right now. So I think Anaheim is just one of those guys that you don't need to feel like one of those teams where no matter who is really on the block, like you can pitch them and find somebody it doesn't matter their name. Like, it's just the team that you're picking up for the off nights. So everybody's going to give you pretty much just the same amount of chance as the next guy. Elias Lindholm, 3-game points or 3-game cold streak here. No points, only 2 shots on goal total, not per game. And the power play percentage is sliding 71%, 65, 55, 3 games, 2 games, and 1 game ago. Time on ice dipped to 16-20 in his last game. For me, it's too early to cut. I can't cut Lindholm at this point.
No. There's something weird happening. Like, we were just seeing those weird things going on in Boston. I would, not cutting bait on that at all. He's gonna be the number 1 center with some great players, number 1 power play, yada yada yada. He's on Boston. It's gonna happen. He's it's just a little blip.
This is one of those situations where I think this is something we say every year too. Like, take these 3 games and drop them in game 47, right? If game 47 through 50 is a 3-game point streak or a 3-game cold streak, are you really worried about Elias Lindholm? No, I don't think so. But because it's like such a big percentage of the entire season that has happened so far, that's why it feels like it's so much more important. You take these 3 0-point games, terrible shot percent or shot volume, and you drop them anywhere else later into the season, and you're not worried. That's it. Miro Heiskanen, man, we are going to be deep diving this guy later. No points at all yet. 6 games played, no points. 10 shots on goal, under 2 a game, 3 hits, 10 blocks, and 64% power play time. Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard, they are on the menu later, as is Evan Bouchard or Adam Boquist. Quinton Byfield, not in for a deep dive this week, but he recently moved to the top line. 3 points in 6 games on the year, 2.5 shots per game, 5 hits, 1 block. Power play time on ice is under 50 and just under 18 minutes time on ice. He's got 1 point in his last 4. Quinton Byfield, I think he's a hold. Like, if he's one of the guys you drafted, that leads me to believe that, you might be in a deeper league. So I'm pulling a little bit of made up context here, but I think Byfield would be a hold in whatever league he's already held in.
Yeah, probably.
Rob Tom, Jordan Kyrou, St. Louis has 6 goals for in their last 3 games. They're tied for worst in the league in that span. Utah and San Jose are the other 2 teams that are tied. Chalk it up to a rough week for the Blues. This is where I want to get your pulse, man. JT Miller, something's up. He did not take faceoffs last game. Power play percentage went down under 50%, which is very uncharacteristic for Miller. And the time on ice went down from 20 plus to like 17 versus Philly. He did score an even strength goal against Florida, and that's his only point since the season opener. What's going on with JT Miller?
Same thing as Pedersen, same thing as Demko, as they're
Yeah,
lying about
Pedersen's having a
injuries.
rough one.
They're lying about injuries, and I don't know who or why they're doing this, but he missed the whole preseason, didn't play a preseason game. So that's a thing. So he was saying it's because he didn't want to whatever load management horseshit. You have a team full of a bunch of new. Yeah, I mean, come on. Preseason is half of a playoff series. Give me a break. A guy can't play 3 more games to get in with his line mates. He was injured, and he hinted at an injury at the end of the preseason. And then last night or Saturday, Saturday, he took the opening face-off and immediately went to the dressing room. Yeah, literally skated off the ice and went to the dressing room.
Wrist to the shoulder.
The thing is, I don't know why they let him play the rest of the game. He's been nursing this for a month, and he was back out there, and now he's probably going to sit against Chicago. So, yeah, I don't know, man. He is injured, and they are lying about it, so it's very hard to tell. But he's either going to be playing at about 75%, or he's going to miss a couple games. So,
man, I remember who was it? I think it was Sean Monahan a couple years ago, where he stopped taking faceoffs, and it was because of his hip. Like, he would get down to take the faceoff, and he said, like, "Oh, I gotta like stretch it out, and I can't lock it back in. Like, you just can't get up." So I wonder. This is all speculation, but I mean, I know something's up. I'm just not sure what it is. So I'm throwing darts.
Well, it was a shoulder. It looked like a shoulder or hand when he took the opening face-off, and he immediately, that was all he did. And then he grabbed his arm and skated off the ice, went straight to the dressing room, came back a little while later and took only one more face-off and hardly any power play time. So
that's so weird that, like, didn't want to play any preseason games, and then still just so insistent to finish a game against Philly. The game, I think they shut out Philly too. So it's
yeah,
just get your rest, man. Noah Hannafin, Alex Pietrangelo, both cold in Vegas. Hannafin had 1 assist in the opener, nothing since, under a shot and a half per game. It's 1.2 shots per game. Brutal. 5 hits, 12 blocks, almost no power play time on ice, under a minute. Pietrangelo, 3-game cold streak, 22% power play time on ice, and almost none in his last 2 games. Last 2 games are 18 seconds and 38 seconds of power play time. That is brutal. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff here, man. We got some submissions from Discord, and we're going to start off with Connor Zari, trying this new little slideshow thing for the folks that are watching us live here. Connor Zari is the first one. Marco Rossi's up next. So this or that we were talking about a little earlier, we're going to be able to see a little bit more of it now. Connor Zari. So we kind of debriefed on him a little bit before, but what I'm looking at here, average time on ice since last year, up 17%. Points per 60 is up almost 60. Shots on goal up almost 10%. Primary assists or secondary assists are up almost 50%. But I think a lot of that, like, I'm willing to look past just based on like the exposure. Like, he's got better players around him. He's on power play 1. There's a lot more puck movement, so there's a lot more touches. And I think the secondary assists are going to come with that. Power play time on ice is up 60.7%. That's huge. IPP is up. That happens when you're playing with better players. His power play percentage is up almost 50%. Offensive zone starts is actually down, which is strange. And on ice shooting percentage is up not to 24%, but it's up 24% since last year. So this is a big one for me. Again, this kind of goes in tandem with the IPP. You're playing with better players. Your shooting percentage and your on ice shooting percentage are going to follow suit. And I think based on the same stuff, like secondary assists are too. So for me, Connor Zari, and I mean, the Calgary as a whole is just kind of this enigma that I can't figure out at this point. We've been talking about this a little bit. Calgary is confusing top to bottom with what's going on right now. Like, I don't know whether I buy in or not. I know Zari's got the pedigree, he's got the resume for it. But what's your take on Zari? Or is this somebody that we can start to kind of buy into long term?
I snagged him right away this year, and I'm hanging on. I do, like I said, I don't understand what's going on with Calgary. They were so bad, and now they're so good. But I mean, part of why they were so bad is they had 100-point player scoring 52 points. So that
Yeah.
is a thing. Another thing, Kuzmenko, who was a 39 goal scorer, was doing absolute nothing as well last year. He's up to point per game. So they have a few guys who can be good, who are being good right now. I just don't. I don't know. I'm saying they're sustainable for now, which is not really what sustainable means, but I'm gonna give them a sustainable for a bit. Like, it could disappear, but I'm gonna ride it. And like some of the numbers that we have here that are usually like, that you'd look at and say that means he's probably gonna drop off. I can see good reasons for most of those numbers being up though. That's the
Yeah.
thing. So
Even Jeff in the chat here brings up a really good point. He's playing with Backlund and Coleman, two guys that are leaned on in defensive situations. So that does kind of it answers the question as to why his offensive zone starts are down. Easy peasy. Like, those are guys that you throw into the defensive zone to take those faceoffs, to get the puck out of the zone. So I'm big on that.
good call.
Parataron in here, he's asking about Huberdeau. What I saw with Huberdeau, and I know Jeff Peach over here, he's a Calgary fan, so he can confirm or deny this for me. But when Sutter had Huberdeau, he would play Huberdeau at like half the season at right wing, which is his number one is off wing, and two, just not a position that he's used to. And that's the season where he put up just absolute shit numbers. We broke it down. There's a guy out there, CC Middleton, a Twitter account that you guys should definitely follow. He does this like manual tracking data where when somebody gets traded or has a bad season or whatever, like, he's putting out really good stuff all the time. But one of the things that he does specifically is, I guess, he hand tracks how many games players are playing at left wing, at right wing, on different sides of the defensive pairing, things like that. And what I got from him is that I think it was like 41 games he played at left wing, and he played more games at right wing. I broke down those games, and I found that whenever he was playing at right wing, his points per game was half as much as it was when he was at a left wing. So this is going years back now, like a really long time. But from what I remember, I think his points per game when he was at his natural position, left wing, was like 0.8 points per game. And then when he was on his off wing, it was like 0.41 or some shit. Like, I can find it in the notes because I stubbornly don't delete anything on my computer. But just the difference between him at left wing and right wing when Sutter was like shoehorning him in to that right wing position, it wasn't good. He's back. He was back on his normal side last year. Honestly, he might be tracking better this year. Eye test has him shooting more. This is from Jeff Peach. He's being used on the penalty kill now, which is super strange. And I do have that shots on goal information for Huberdeau. If you give me a second to look it up, Raj, if you got something to say, now's the time, because I'm doing shit.
Well, I'm happier than anybody that Huberdeau's come back. I had him through the last 2 years because I was like, a couple years of 100 points, he's definitely going to keep going. And I think the last 2 seasons equal his season before that.
Oh, so, God.
But yeah, no, I don't know if he's going to go back to being a 100+ point guy, but he's definitely a great player, and he's not too old. And I think that he's in the market for 70+, and like even 80 isn't a crazy stretch. And I think he's more of that kind of player, because we did an interesting thing on Sekeres and Price, because we were looking at Pettersson, because Pettersson's doing the same thing right now, right? Like 100 points and then just ass. And there was an interesting stat about guys who are point per game for their first 400 games never fall off. There's one player in history who's just complete turned to dog shit after that amount of goodness, and it was Alexander Semin. But other than that, anyone with that kind of pedigree has a cold streak or even a bad year, but they always come back. And I definitely think Huberdeau's back.
I feel like I had a second slide here for I'm hoping things didn't get all mixed up in the fray for Connor Zary. Now, I guess I did that more in the deep dives because these are Discord submissions. If you guys want to submit folks for the Tuesday Trend deep dive, you guys feel free to hop in the Discord and drop some names in there if you want us to dig in on some hot and cold players. On Huberdeau, I got the numbers here. His shots are actually down 24% since last year. And shots on goal pace, it's like 115 point shot pace right now, which is brutal. Over the last 7 days, he's just got, where's it at? 1 shot in 2 games and 7 shots over the last 5 games. So we'll see how things go for the full season. I know he kind of makes his money with assists. So could happen, could not. Next up is Marco Rossi, man. We kind of talked about him a little bit earlier. What I like to see here is the points per 60. It's up 100%. So it's doubled since last year. Shots on goal per 60 is up almost 20%. And the secondary assists are down. So a lot of and then you also see the IPP going up. So with that, there's a lot more primary points that are happening, a lot more play driving that's happening. What's concerning is the power play time on ice and the power play percentage are both down right around 20%. But again, he's got this intermittent deployment where recently he's on the top power play. So, or the top line. So we'll see what happens there. I think somebody was talking that, they don't have a lot of centers in Minnesota. So Joel Eriksson Ek, obviously, but Marco Rossi might be the second man up. What do you think on Rossi?
Well, if you were to hop onto that top power play, I would be all in.
It'd be huge.
The fact that he's down that much, that's a 22%, is a fair bit. But I mean, Jeek is a stud as well, and he's proven that he knows what to do up there. So it could be tough. I mean, I think he's good. I do think he's good, but it could be a thing too where I don't know. I guess Boldy's up there. I don't know who else he would replace on PP1. I guess it would have to be Eriksson Ek or Boldy, really. But
yeah,
it's going to be a tough power play to crack. But I think he's sustainable as a good player. I think I don't know. I think he's less volatile than Zary, I would say, comparing those guys. But I think Zary's got more upside.
Yeah, especially if we think about Lafreniere last year, where he was able to put up a 60-plus point pace from power play too. I think we can get something like that out of Rossi. Yeah. Because you're right, that power play one, Zuccarello maybe, but then you don't really have a center for power play 2 to be taking those faceoffs and things like that. So he is almost kind of stuck on that unit. You look at the other guys, Marcus Johansson, Frederick Gaudreau, Declan Chisholm, and Liam Ogren. There's not a ton of flexibility with that power play.
Well, and Zuccarello and Kaprizov have been stapled together for forever. They're going to stay together. So.
All right, I lost this other screen. I don't know what happened. So.
Oh, your screen that cut out?
Yeah. It just randomly happens every once in a while. But we can move on now. Submission cold. Cutter Gauthier. I wish I could actually do you have admin? Can you switch to the next slide? Is that possible?
Sure can.
Beautiful, because I have the slides over here. Cutter Gauthier, man, last 3 games versus his season total. So I'm trying to find a silver lining here, a reason not to drop Cutter Gauthier. Average time on ice is up 2.5% over the last 3 games. Point per 60, he hasn't scored, so it hasn't really moved. Shots on goal is up 8.37. Assists, again, hasn't scored. IPP, same thing. His power play time on ice has gone down, and the power play percentage has both gone down, right around 5%. Not a huge dip, but a dip nonetheless. The offensive zone starts have gone down 10 points, almost 11 points, and the on-ice shooting percentage has gone up So his line mates are scoring 45% more. It just hasn't translated to Gauthier. So his IPP being as far down as it is right now is just kind of an anomaly. So what do you think here, Raj? You got anything to say on Cutter Gauthier that hasn't already been said?
I'm just gonna say the same thing. I don't know why you would have him still. I don't see a reason to own this player. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, I was really stretching. I was trying to find something, and the only thing I could find is that his shots are up less than 10%, and his average time on ice is up almost 3%. So
Yeah.
I don't really have a reason to keep him. Zach Hyman is next up in our cold streaks. We got Bouchard right behind him. Edmonton as a whole deserves an episode in and of itself. Just getting into what's going on there, because I have no fucking idea. And what they're doing, what I've noticed is they're just throwing all the power play time at the top guys and all the time on ice at the top guys, hoping that fixes something, and it hasn't.
Well, I mean, look what they did last year. Exact same thing last year. In fact, I think they were even worse than this last year. So
they were, and
I mean, McDavid's eating shit and he's point per game. So we're still in that boat. I mean, the other guys like that we're actually talking about, Hyman, 0 of anything. That's going to turn around 100%. It's very sad that he's doing what he's doing. He's keeping pace with Vasily Podkolzin right now in terms of points, which is not a good thing. I think you just got to suck it up and stick with Hyman because, you're not going to go from 50 goals to 0 goals. It's just not going to happen. He's playing with the 2 best players in the world. Bouchard is turning into a kick-ass defenseman finally. I mean, he's surrounded by great players who are all just kind of doing whatever Edmonton doesn't do at the start of the year. It's because they live in Edmonton. I don't know. It just gets sad sometimes. But no, I mean, it just sucks. Like, Hyman's one of those ones. It's kind of like Stamkos. It just sucks because you can't drop that player. You just have to suck it up.
I think with the caliber of these players that we're talking about here, Zach Hyman, Evan Bouchard, like these are just the diagnosis is not with the player, it's with the team. Edmonton Oilers are dead last in goals for per game. They're tied with the San Jose Sharks, just to put it in perspective here, and the Nashville Predators. Their power play is running at 6.7% when it's been 30% over the last few years. So for me, this is just a team issue that they need to figure out. Justin in the chat here saying they need to dig the fuck in. And I think that's a perfect little cameo from the
Fair
Amazon
enough.
show, man. We got to get that sound clip in here sometime.
Yeah.
Especially for these cold streaks.
I wonder if they're trying out some new power play formations or something, which would be weird after having like the best power play, right? The best power play in the history of the NHL. Like, let's change it. But again, like, if they're going, you have a 30% power play, same players, it's going to be back to 25% in no time, and Hyman's going to hit the All-Star break with 30 goals. Like, it just sucks right now. It just sucks right now.
I really do think it's just the team. Like, a couple days ago, I remember seeing a tweet from somebody that was like, the big guys, I think it was like $40 million worth of NHL players, and they have 1 even strength point or some shit. It was just this wild tweet that went out, and that's what happens. Like, Draisaitl got benched the other day. So this is a team issue. They're figuring shit out. And I really don't think that Hyman, I've seen Hyman in drop discussions, not like, should I drop him, but people in the Discord saying, Zach Hyman's on my fucking waiver wire. Granted, these are like, new to the community kind of leagues and things like that, but still, Jesus.
Yeah. No.
Shard, we got some stats for you here. His average time on ice is up 7%. Points per 60 down 85%. Shots are down 14%, which is concerning. Does not have a primary assist yet. His IPP is expectedly down 66% almost. Power play time is up. Power play percentage is up 20%. His offensive zone starts have gone up, and the on ice shooting percentage, obviously, as the team, was doing the thing last year and is not doing the thing this year, that's down 50%. Again, I'm chalking this one up to Edmonton is just figuring some shit out, and they're going to make up
Yeah.
for it. I still think they're going to be top of the league in power play percentage at year's end. They're going to be top of the league in goals for per game at year's end. It just means that it's going to be more condensed and there's going to be more value to be had over the next, 76 games?
Yeah. Well, I remember they were complete garbage for 10 to 15 games last year as well. So whatever that is, it happened again.
All right, who's who's next up here? Para's always got me laughing, man. Yeah, we talked about Bouchard. Next up, Ross Colton. Man, this one is gonna Ross Colton, man. I'm ready to break some hearts here because I just got a bucket full of cold water here. But I think there's still reason to be excited. Ross Colton is going to be one of the if he's not already, he's one of the hottest players around fantasy water coolers right now. His average time on ice this year compared to last year, it's up 41%. Points per 60 up 66%. Shots on goal per 60 up 42. He does not have a secondary assist yet because he's doing nothing but scoring goals. His IPP is down, believe it or not. Holy hell. Power play time on ice up 123% and power play percentage up 150% over last year. He's seeing like 4 minutes of power play time on ice per game with Colorado. That's huge. Power play percentage is 80%. Huge, huge, huge. And his offensive zone starts are up. On ice shooting percentage is up as well, man. Let's get into it. First, before I have this next slide, which is red flags, green flags, I want to know what you think about Ross Colton, what he's been able to do this week in terms of long-term sustainability. I don't think Buddy's going to go on a 75-goal season. So obviously we're working with a little bit of a tempered expectation here. What do you think about Ross Colton and what happens with Colorado? First, when does Shushkin and Lehkonen get back? And second, just like a long-term view about what happens with Colton.
Well, he's playing next to Rantanen and McKinnon.
That's a big part of it.
That might help. But he's not that player. Like, he is absolutely right place, right time right now. That's all. Yeah. That's all I can say. And even if he stays there, he's going to cool off. It's impossible to go at this pace. I don't know if is he over a goal per game? He's got six goals in 6 games.
It's close, man. 5 of his 7 points are goals. So I've skipped ahead here to the red flags, green flags. 5 of his 7 points are goals, and 3 of his 5 goals. He has 6 goals.
6 of his 7 points are goals.
Well, fucking hot damn. All right, so 6 of his 7 points are goals, and am I right? 3 of those 6 goals are power play goals. I know he has 3 power play goals. That's the one thing I am sure of.
I know he has 4 power play points, so I'm going to guess 3 of them are goals.
Yeah, he's on pace for 62 power play points. All right. 55 on the season, 62 in his last 4 games, which is kind of when he came up to the top power play and the top line and things like that. What is his deployment going to look like when Nuke and Lehkonen get back? This has been something we've been talking about in the host Discord. We've been talking about, I think, on the show a bunch, and especially in like the patron channels of Discord. This is a one-line team. Like, you look at this lineup, it does not look like a Stanley Cup winning team from 2-3 years ago. It does not look like, it looks like a contender, but it looks like an oust, right? So when Nuke and Lehkonen get back, do you leave Colton where he is? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you put Nuke with Middlestat, you put Lehkonen with Middlestat, and you are now a 2-line team. Because Nichushkin, Middlestat, Lehkonen is a better line than Colton, Middlestat, Lehkonen. when you already have established chemistry and a rapport with Colton and Rantanen and McKinnon.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I mean, you'd have to be crazy to not do that first, right? Like put Nichushkin, etc. on the second line and just keep that top line together. Because if you could keep that top line together and then get a second one working, then you have a playoff team. But
Yeah.
the way I don't know, if they put like Nichushkin on the top line, then you're just left with an ass second line again. So I don't know, but at the same time, like if I'm McKinnon, I don't want to look and see Nichushkin on my line after what he's put those guys through. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
I'm actually very curious to see what happens when he comes back, just because I would be like, dude, just no.
I know McKinnon's
Right,
like a health nut, eating like bird seed and avocados, and
Yeah.
Shushkin's just doing a bunch of blow between periods and shit. So two very different lifestyles. I could understand why he'd be like, well, obviously he can't be salty because that's high sodium. He would feel some sort of way. All right. So the red flags on Colton, the on-ice shooting percentage is higher than I'm comfortable with. The individual shooting percentage is like 28%, 27% if we're rounding. 6 of his 7 points are goals. If you're watching on YouTube, my numbers are wrong. And he's on pace for 62 power play points over his last 4 games. That is just unheard of. Even from, like, I think Edmonton, I don't even think any of those guys put up 62 power play points that year. So Ross Colton doing it, it's just not something I can buy in. Let's get into the green flags for everybody who is like, has already taken their earphones out, is going la 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 la, like just doesn't want to hear it, right? The shots on goal per 60 is tied with Dylan Guenther. That's 31st in the league, 11.41 per 60. That is great. The IPP is very much stable, 62.5%. I like that, 63 on the year. And again, I want to circle back to just how little depth the Avalanche have. And again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Nuke and Lehkonen can fix your second line, that middle six with Middlestat, and just make it happen. And then, like, you still have to think about Jonathan Drouin coming back. He's been a bit of an NPC, absolute nothing all year. So he seems like a third line kind of AFK kind of plug. But I don't know. Ready to move on? I got Jake Sanderson lined up next.
Yeah.
Jake Sanderson has been on a tear. Look at all that green on the screen, man. Everything is up for Jake Sanderson. Average time on ice is up over 11% to 25 plus. Points per 60 up. Ready for this? 161%, almost 162. Shots on goal per 60 are up 8%. Assists, secondaries are up, but still to like a very comfortable level. IPP is up. I don't know, 77. I'm not really comfortable. Power play time on ice is up. He's over 4 minutes a game. Power play share is in the 80s. Offensive zone starts have gone up to over 50%. And the on ice shooting percentage is floating around 12.7. Jake Sanderson getting top power play time in Ottawa. Do you buy? Do you sell?
Well, I'll tell you, he has 7 points and 6 are on the power play. So
that is my first note, second note up.
If he loses that power play, I think that will have an effect. But we all know that they've been trying to give Shabbat a break in ice time for the last like 6 years, and since he's been playing 36 minutes a night all the time.
It's been nuts.
So I think, I mean, why would you change it up? I mean, the guy's obviously lighting it up on the power play. Their power play kind of kicks ass. Like, Ottawa has been on the verge of having this great lineup for a couple years, and they brought in a couple people that didn't help. They're gone. They've kind of settled back into their core, right? Like, their top power play is Kachuk, Stützle, Batherson, Norris, and Sanderson. Like, that's all their original guys from a few years ago that just needed some time to develop, right? So I think he's going to stay on the power play, and I think the power play is going to stay good. I don't think he's going to be on this kind of pace, but Yeah, I see that in the chat there. I grabbed Norris too. I don't know why he's still sitting there. Everyone was freaked out by his injuries, but
Yeah, that's been
he
a big part of
like
it.
last time he played, he got 30 goals and then he got injured, and so it just seems like what we've thought might happen for the last 2 years is happening now, right? Like again, like all these guys, the last time they were all together, healthy and playing, they were 2.5, 3 years younger than this, and they've all just a bunch of young guys have just come into their prime at the same time, and I am unbelievably high on Ottawa. So Sanderson included. I absolutely buy it. Like I said, Shabbat's only going to come down to 28 minutes a night probably now.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, I mean, they've got such a sick top six. Like his even strength time on ice is going to be with good players as well. So I'm all in on Sanderson for sure.
I think I'm right there with you. Ottawa is a good team. One of the notes I have in here on Sanderson is, and this again is just kind of trying to put rhyme to reason. Maybe their confidence in Olmark versus Corpusalo. You know, and I know Olmark has played one or two games now, but like maybe they're just breathing a little easier and they can open up with their offense too. So the red flags I have on Sanderson, he is on a 98 power play point pace. I don't need to be an expert. I don't need to pretend to be an expert to tell you that's not going to happen. He has 7 points on the year. 6 of them are on the power play. Yeah. His secondary assist rate on the power play is 60%. So 3 of those 5 power play assists were secondary assists. Again, a lot of touches happen on the power play. That's still like a pretty cushy spot to be. But if we're talking about sustainability long term, it's easy to bet kind of the under on that. The green flags I have for Sanderson, his shots on goal per 60 up 8% in this year, and they're up another 12% over the last 3 games. Behemoth time on ice is something I wrote in here. It's like 26 minutes, which is great. Offensive zone starts are going up over the last 3 games, and blocks. Look at these stats, man. His hits are up 93% and his blocks are up 104% over the last year. Right now, he's on a 295 block pace and a 98 hit pace. And over the last few games, he's been on over 130 hit pace. It's so good. I'm not a Jake Sanderson owner. I wish I was. And this is a terrible time to buy, but I think I would buy because I think there is full value for the year.
Yeah, I just noticed, I'm very surprised with his time on ice. He's actually
26 minutes. He's rivaling
usurped Shabbat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's crazy because Shabbat plays all the time. But
it's
yeah.
nuts. All right, man, we're in your wheelhouse on the next slide here. Jake DeBrusk coming up. Average time on ice is up just a bit. Points per 60 way up 58%. He's on a 115 point pace right now. I'm taking the under. Shots on goal per 60 is down, but still like right around a 200 shot pace. Primary assists are up 125%. I mean, it's a short season, so these big numbers like that are going to happen. IPP is up a little bit, still in a comfy spot. Power play time on ice, he's got around 3 minutes. Power play percentage is up 65% opposed to what it was in Boston. Offensive zone starts have gone up. On a shooting percentage has gone up. That's a very Vancouver thing to happen. I want to get your pulse on Jake DeBrusk here, man. What do you think about this guy, and what's your outlook on him as a Vancouver native?
Well, first of all, ignore all this back here because this isn't a homer thing that I'm about to say. But he's in the best position of his life. Like he's sick. I mean, he was brought in to play with Pettersson, quickly taken off that line and he's just absolutely gelled with JT and Brock Besser on the top line.
I mean, that's almost a better line to be on.
It's a way better line to be on. And as we've seen, someone was asking about Toffoli in the chat there. Toffoli's a perfect example of what JT Miller does to players, right? Like when he came and played on a line with JT Miller, he was over a point per game for the only time in his career. And then he left and it didn't happen again. Um, Now, in Boston, DeBrusk had the problem of, sorry, bud, there's just too many guys ahead of you. So sometimes he would end up with Pasternak, but when they were loading up a line, he wasn't on it. Whereas in Vancouver, he is now pretty solidified into that top line, which was the best line last year. Miller, for some reason, is still underrated. Like, he is a sick player. So I absolutely think DeBrusk can keep it up. He's the right kind of player. He's in the right position. He's 100% knows how good he's got it right now. He's been waiting for this kind of position for his whole career, and he thrives when it's like do or die. He's doing, and I think he's going to keep doing it. I drafted him because I thought this was going to happen when I could. And yeah, I see no reason for it to slow down. Like, I'd say I'm hoping for 70 points, but I mean, he's a 65 to 70 point guy unless something happens. He's also going to stay on the power play. Like, he's kicking ass on the power play as well. So yeah, I'm all in, 100% in. And he's
It
3
feels
hits a game. 3 hits a
Oh,
game too.
that's a big one. His hits are up 139%, 14 hits in his last 3 games, which is insane. What I did want to mention, all of these stats that we're talking about, his points being, his shots being down, this being down, whatever. Vancouver seems like, although they're putting games together, they're 2-1-2 right now. I still think we haven't seen Vancouver 100% just yet. Like we've talked about Pettersson being a bit cold. We talked about Miller potentially nursing something. This just seems like a team that has more in the tank once they figure out what's ailing them or fix whatever is ailing them. And I do think there's some value to be had here. But Jake DeBrusk he seems like if we were trying to trade him or move him or anything, like he would be a throw-in for me, like as a 2-for-1 kind of deal. I don't know if like a sell high opportunity would really present itself.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, in terms of like a 1-for-1 kind of upgrade on this one. So for me, it makes more sense just to hold the guy and see where it goes, or throw him in as a throw-in in a trade. What makes me nervous is his shot pace is under 150, where last year it was kind of flirting with 200. So I'd love to see the shots go up in terms of really kind of giving him the vote of confidence. His assists, again, we talked about it. He's got 4, and 3 of them are secondary. So this is going to even out as the season goes on. So it's just one of those things you got to bring it up. We're still early.
The one he is playing with their number 1 goal scorer, Besser, and Miller is also a goal scorer. So chances are he is going to be more assist heavy in terms of the percentage of his points that are assists. He will probably have more assists than usual than he would have in Boston. But I also feel like everyone kind of thought Besser was going to fall off, and he had a fluky year, and so he's not. He's scoring. Yeah. He's scoring goals again. So people are going to start gravitating more towards Besser's shot, which is going to open it up for DeBrusk. And yeah, that power play time, man. That even if Pettersson is stinking it up, that Canucks power play is pretty hot. Like, it's pretty killer place to be, right?
All right, I'm ready to break some hearts with the cold streaks. I've got 2 guys here that I still believe in, and I'm leading off with a guy that I just don't believe in. That's Adam Boquist, guys. Just look at his average time on ice. It's under 12 minutes. This is like the worst version of Shane Gostisbehere's, of Keith Yandel's, Tony DeAngelo's, Eric Gustafson's. Like, we see these guys, these archetype of third pairing top power play guys. His offensive zone starts are 92.31. 92. That tells you a lot about a coach. He's playing under 12 minutes, and every single one with maybe 1 shift per game. taking place in the offensive zone. The only reason he's out there is for the power play. And he's got 1 point so far this year. It is a power play assist, but like, let's just read down the stats, right? So his average time on ice from Columbus, mind you, is down 38%. Points per 60 down. Shots on goal per 60 is up, and it's up 47%. And now he's at a 96 shot pace. God damn. His one power play assist was a secondary assist. His IPP is down. Power play time on ice is up to under 3 minutes power play time on ice. And the power play share is just 50%. It's very strange. Offensive zone starts, like I said, 92%, and his on-ice shooting percentage is 9.3. His on-ice shooting percentage is going to go pretty much in tandem with however that power play is. Red flags, green flags for Adam Boqvist. Red flag is the time on ice. 12 minutes. He's on a 14-point pace on the year, and he was bought out from Columbus. He was bought out by worse teams for better performances, and that's where I'm at. That's like the final word on Adam Boqvist for me.
Yeah.
Shots on goal is way down. He's on a 62 shot on goal per 82 games over his last 4. So even over the last few games, he's doing worse. He's on pace for 14 blocks and 41 hits. And my final note here is just that he's not good. So I'm not into it at all. And I really do think that I think they're gonna wind up with other guys. It's in my Eastern Edge article that's coming out tomorrow. But who is it? There's like 3 other guys that actually have power play time on ice. Forsling doesn't have much. Ekblad has the next most, and Uvis Bezlinkas, or whatever his name is, has the next most. It's Ekblad, then Beslinkas, whatever his name is. It's a great name. But yeah, like they're coming up with options, and I really do think that he's going to get usurped at some point. I feel like they just are intent on making him work. They bought the guy for this exact purpose. They're going to try it until the wheels actually fall off. Like the wheels are wobbling and they're not pulling over. They're just going to wait till they fall off. His last 4 games, his power play time on ice is up, and his average time on ice is up as a result. He's up to 13 minutes time on ice, guys. So things are turning around. Adam Boqvist, what do you think? Is it going to be Ekblad? What's the over-under? 2.5 weeks?
Oh, man. Yeah, he's done. Like, just drop, get away, run away. If anyone will take him, take him. But there's nothing happening there. He's just not good.
So, all right, we just got one on DeBrusk here. Did DeBrusk get demoted to power play 2?
He will not be on power play 2. No.
Yeah, I'm looking that one up here. Yeah, who they put up there? Connor Garland? Gross.
No, he will not be on power play 2.
Yeah, not into it.
No.
All right. Adam Boqvist is not going to be a sell. He's not going to be a buy for me. He's going to be a drop. If he's not already, like he should be bottom of your roster. If he's not bottom of your roster, you got bigger problems to worry about. That's all I'm going to say. Next up, Owen Tippett. This guy I do have faith in, and that is because I'm a fucking homer. Philadelphia Flyers fan. You guys can see it right there. That's my poster. That's my Jaromir Jagr signed jersey. Pretty dope. Owen Tippett, man. A lot of what I see here is, kind of just getting used to things. His time on ice is up almost 9%. I think I forgot to change this because all I was doing was copy and pasting like the next guy, then the next guy. Owen Tippett does not have less than 12 minutes time on ice. That's obviously Adam Boqvist. Points per 60 is down. And yeah, so he's getting Philly time on ice. Points per 60 is down. Shots are down. And that's the worrisome part is Owen Tippett is not, and I don't think that shots on goal pace is accurate either. Like I really think I just kind of phoned this one in from the copy paste from Adam Boqvist here, guys. I'm a first timer. It's a 279 point pace. So yeah, his shot pace is down, but is still looking good. It's down 8%, and it's down to a 279 shot pace on the year. His last 3 games, he's up over 350 shot pace on the year. So things are gonna get better there, guys. His IPP is violently underrated at 25% right now. That's down 66% on the this year from last year. Power play time on ice is way up, over 4.5 minutes per game. That is stellar. And the power play percentage is up too. Offensive zone starts are up. He's getting like 90. No, that can't be right either. Like, this has just got to be Boquist shit. Offensive zone starts for him, looking it up right now, 73%. And the on-ice shooting percentage is down for Tippett as well. Green flags, red flags on Tippett. My only red flag is that the shots are down. Still on that 279 shot pace, regardless of it going down. For me, the green flags are the IPP is bound to bounce back. It's 25% right now, 66.04 last year. On-ice shooting percentage is due for a bump. His individual expected goals for is almost 2, so he is getting to those dirty areas. He's just getting robbed. His power play percentage and power play time on ice is way up. And look at this, guys, 246 hit pace from Owen Tippett. You got to love that. Over the last 3 games, over his year-to-date totals, his shots on goal is up over where it was last year, 14.75 on the year. Power play percentage is up another 7 minutes. His power play went over 5 minutes per game in the last 3 games played. Owen Tippett, man, buy, sell. What are you doing? I would love to buy low on him right now.
Yeah, I think so. He's just not doing well. That's it. He's way better than this. I think he's gonna bounce back to, well, from where he is now, definitely. Playing with Michkov. Although both guys only have points on the power play at this point. I don't know much. Ryan, their center there, Paling, whatever.
Paling, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know if he's the guy for those two. But I don't know who you'd put there to bring that up. But so far, those two guys, Tippett and Michkov, have only got points on the power play. But I think it's just another, like a bunch of these guys we're talking about. Like, I would be buying low on Tippett, and I'm not a Flyers fan. I like to talk shit on the Flyers for obvious reasons whenever I can, but I think you should be snagging up Tippett if he's out there.
Philadelphia Flyers power play is 12th in the league, and that can only mean one thing, that it's October, and the rest of the year hasn't taken its toll yet. So get it while it's hot. The only difference being is that, like, Michkov is there. So maybe it's not going to be dead last for the 4th year in a row. Maybe just those 3 years. I would definitely be buying on Tippett. Last one here is Miro Heiskanen. Average time on ice is up. His points per 60 is 0 because he doesn't have any points yet. Shots on goal are down 27%. Brutal. Secondary assists, IPP, are non-existent. Again, no points. Power play time on ice is down 4%. I'm not too worried about that. Power play percentage is down 3%. Offensive zone starts are down. And I think a big part of his offensive zone starts are being down is what I have here. Tanev, Suter, Hakanpää, all gone out of Dallas. So you think they replaced those guys with Ilya Lyubushkin, Matt Dumba, and Nils Lundqvist / Thomas Harley to make up for that third piece. Heiskanen is going to be relied on for more than just his offense, like his offensive prowess. So he's getting a bigger role, and it's not the bigger role that we look for and root for in fantasy. And that's why his offensive zone starts have gone down. It's early in the season, so this power play percentage and power play time on ice being down for Heiskanen is something that I'm not super concerned about. But the shots are. It's a 27% drop in pace. And over a 27% drop in shots on goal per 60. Hits are down, blocks are way up. For me, like, if I'm betting, Heiskanen's another really, really good buy low candidate here. Like, I don't know if those like early season projections for Heiskanen are really going to pan out, but if they're going to be below it, like, I don't think it's going to be much below. where we have, because Dallas, for me, like their power play is 11.1% right now. They only have 2 power play goals for. I think the team is going to get better. Dallas has less goals for per game than Buffalo. They have the 12th least goals for per game, and the shots on goal per 60 for Heiskanen are up 60% in the last 3 games. So I think Heiskanen's an easy buy low for me, especially if somebody's super worried. I don't know who you'd be able to trade for him, especially in like a D for D kind of swap. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a sell high candidate, and Sanderson was the only one who came to mind, and I don't think I'd do that trade, Sanderson for Heiskanen.
I don't think so. The other thing about Heiskanen is he is, even though he's in a more defensive role this year, I think that's going to bring his offense down. But he's not a big peripheral guy to make up for it either. And it's not like since he's playing more defensively, like he's got no hits. I think he's got 3 hits. Barely not. I don't even think he has 2 blocks a game. So you could probably buy low. And if you're trying to buy low, throw those numbers at people like, look, he gets no peripherals and blah, 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 and he's not scoring, so he's useless. So trade him to me for Philip Hronek or something. But I think you could probably, in lots of leagues, you could probably buy low on him in a trade, I would bet.
I wonder if like a Vince Dunn might work. I mean, he's got 3 points in 4 games. Maybe a Brandon Montour as he's padding his stats while Vince Dunn is day to day. But I don't know, like the other guys that are sell highs for the defensemen, it's Gustav Forsling, and I just really don't see that working. Mike Matheson, that to me, that's about a push. Seth Jones, I think I would hold. Gostisbehere, I might give up on Gostisbehere, but I really don't think that's one that's gonna get accepted. So I don't know. Like you might be able to do a Jake DeBrusk plus like a Caden Gooley. I don't know. Probably not, but I'm trying to throw stuff out there and I'm coming up with it on the spot. But I don't know. I got faith in Heiskanen to turn it around, and to me, that's a pretty easy buy low. I think that's oh man, going all the way back. This is great video, guys. Sorry, but that's all I got. Raj, do you have anything else on some of these hot or cold guys? I know you got one extra here that I didn't have a slide for, so take us through it.
Well, I just wanted to bring up, we kind of talked about him, but I wanted to bring up Stamkos just because it's crazy low. 1 goal on 20 shots. So it's not like he's...
Sorry, I'm showing you my cat.
It's not like Stamkos isn't going to work in Nashville. It's another case where they brought in a whole bunch of new high-end players and it's taken a bit to get settled. Stamkos is still shooting 4 times a game, and he knows how to shoot. He's just got to get into the rhythm. So Stamkos is a guy where if you could trade for him now, if someone's giving up on him already, then he'd be a guy I'd go for. The lineup is just so sick. It just hasn't clicked yet. So yeah, that's all I really had about that. The other one, I just wanted to bring up as an unsustainably awesome stat is Kiefer Sherwood in Vancouver. He has 19 hits in the last 2 games.
Oh my God.
He had 10 hits and then 9 in the last 2 games. So I just like that. We're talking about streaks. That is a hit streak that I don't think will continue. But I love that guy, man. He is one of my new favorites on the team. He is such a shithead.
He's banging it. And Jeff brings up a good point that I forgot to mention. In Dallas, they do have the most miles traveled this year. In terms of their away games, they have to travel 5,000 miles more than the next team, which I think is Florida. That's a lot of flying, guys. And as somebody who flies for a living, you do get kind of tired. You got to stretch those legs. I know their planes are probably a lot nicer than the ones I'm on, but still, that's, it's not like there's treadmills and burpee machines or whatever on those planes. So you really, really got to stretch. A lot of jet lag.
Got a private chef there cooking for you, massages, and
I am the private chef. And if you give me a 20, I'll give you a massage.
But they do have a pretty rough schedule, though.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, just the amount of traveling they're doing, Dallas is it's something to look out for. I mean, that's not something that's going to change over the course of the season. It's just something to kind of add to the context. I know we had some questions about Wyatt Johnston and him getting usurped by Logan Stankoven, but we just didn't have time. I mean, we're already an hour and a half into this episode, and we only talked about like 6 players when it comes to deep dive. So yeah, we couldn't do them all, guys. But get in the Discord for next week if you guys want to get in early and then throw guys on our docket before we can take them off, because we already did research on them. If you guys throw them in early, we'll be able to get there. But we got the Tuesday Trends channel in the Discord. We've got the FHF Hockey Twitter/X if you guys want to chirp at us there, and we'll bring them up on the show, especially if they're like super relevant. So in the meantime, you guys can find us those places. And until next time, I think we got the bullshit show coming out later this week and the weekend preview. We did swap those 2 nights. It just makes more sense to do the weekend preview on a Wednesday, so that if anybody has those Friday, like you that if you have next day ads that you need, you want the advice, make actionable advice, get it out to you. So we switched the weekend review to Wednesday, and the bullshit show is going to be on Thursdays now. So join us for the bullshit show and join us for the weekend preview. We'll be catching you when we catch you. Man, I really thought the outro was playing. I hit it and everything. But anyway, guys, we love you. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.